Welcome to Tidbit Talkin. This is a series that consists of spewing out assorted thoughts which arose from somebody who thinks too much, taking in, and generally loving various entertainment media by the boatload. These tidbits may be mini theories, observations, or simply jokes. Hopefully people will find them entertaining or at least interesting. And who knows, maybe they'll lead to others looking at what amuses them in different ways than before. Also, bear in mind that everything blabbed about in these videos comes from the perspective of somebody who's experienced every main story bit connected with whatever works currently being gone over. So spoilers are a definite. However, other works set in a shared continuity will typically solely be referenced in a way that only makes sense to anybody who's also experienced those ones fully up until their same time occurring points. Sort of a coded nod kind of deal. So, while things will be more fun for viewers who've indulged with an entire universe's works, nobody who has yet to do so will get non-experienced events spoiled. Now, with all of that out of the way, here we go. Mario's presence as a referee indicates that this may be some kinda slightly more real-world similar alternate version of his own universe. There very well could be a fair bit of magic going on in this reality too, particularly the kind related to supernatural size shenanigans. Perhaps instead of stature-swelling shroom sorcery supplying some stubborn souls with a much-desired power increase on occasion, some other mystic hoopla is resulting in more or less permanent peculiarity-planted person puffiness. Seeing as being patient and never giving up is pretty much essential to victory in this game, things would make sense if mental, emotional, whatnot contributed a lot more to physical prowess than just keeping everything all not intangibly weighed down or propped up like it does for real-world located folks. That is, intense person-defining feelings like Little Mac's undying determination would be capable of granting a person an actual improved physique when nothing else is getting in their way. Thus, everyone's favorite height challenge pugilist only weighs 107 pounds despite being absolutely muscle consumed because his beefiness is made of squishy wizardry and not plain old flesh. Unlike the just mentioned possibility of Mac's mighty muscles being the result of garden variety instinctively performed sorcery, Glass Joe's mysterious massiveness, with him somehow being heftier than the tallness lagging protagonist at 110 pounds despite possessing no beefcake batter whatsoever, could easily be mad science rooted. There may have been a team of doctors who worked together in an attempt at solving his chronic getting knocked outness by hollowing him out inside and replacing most of the flesh with experimental bionics technology. This intense invigoration intending imposter insights installation's initial implementation is what would have granted the scrawny scrambler his one victory. However, this artificial addition aided achievement likely didn't sit well with Joe, given that his newfound might wasn't granted through his own hard work. Unfortunately, after a lifetime of boxing and becoming an automation amplified abomination, there weren't many life options remaining for Sir Skinniness, so he begrudgingly pushed forward and subsequently became a lovable loser famous for never giving up. Puny Bruiser's body blow bracing problem during a laughing fit may be the result of his cybernetic implant's power source getting forced into some kind of vulnerability enabling place while guffawing's going on. Von Kaiser's lack of specific incredible strengths and blatant weaknesses is because while he has trained a ton, the fact that his opponent is somebody who has only defeated Glass Joe causes him to become so disinterested that true strength accessing becomes nigh impossible. Obtaining a star for uppercut action may be Little Mac absorbing a bit of the other boxer's innate magical power while their guard is less than pro fighter level. Honda's help-handing hit-landing moment comes when his eyebrows are going on a little wiggle ride. His hocus-pocus leaking loss of focus is likely caused by him experiencing an intolerable forehead itch so great that a futile attempt at limbless scratching is made via face fuzz twitch. The bike chase-filled jogging session may be training that's meant to hone Mac's skill at spotting vulnerable points while both him and his target are constantly moving. Perhaps Doc painted the face of a certain win-by-decision denying referee somewhere on at least one tire and intends for his protege to catch up and provide some cathartic clobbering. Don Flamenco's fight generally involves quite a bit of counterattacking. Considering the man's apparent love of the theatrical, he likely dedicated much training time to developing a speed shift spotlighting slugging style that always provides his audience with suspense-stuffed shows. The occasional instance of strike-induced health recovery may be caused by extra oomph desperate fighters using their naturally present and not publicly known, but nevertheless under control, magical power to temporarily grant themselves some good old-fashioned tactile vampirism. Massive mammal-mimicking monarch's lack of a definite age and weight could very well be the result of his entire culture revolving around hippo-emulating so much that every citizen has tossed aside ideas only comprehensible by mankind in order to be more like their good meal-savoring animal idols. King Hippo's two small shorts will fall down, even though most other folks experience such problems when their garments are unfitting in a much bigger than necessary sort of way. This is likely because the ridiculously robust ruler, like his fellow countrymen, generally spends all of his time naked, so more sweet gargantuan beast smearing can happen, and was forced to wear garb by the WVBA after entering their lovely little pain trading competition. Simply put, his shorts fall down because somebody else put them on, and he just doesn't understand how such complex contraptions work. On a related and also wonderful mental picture conjuring note, the Mammoth Majesty's inability to rise up after getting knocked out could be caused by his improperly worn garment getting lodged so far into his massive butt crack that an ambulance calling is necessary for its removal. Great Tiger's twinkling turban trinket may very well be a mystical object that's used to focus magical powers by the few truly supernatural aware folks in this universe. Its presence is of course what allows the headgear-hauling hero to perform astonishing feats such as teleportation. Impressive big cat's magical meekness moment occurring during a routine ruby radiating is of course caused by the switch from instinctively utilized sorcery to traditional spellcasting, requiring so much concentration that physical defense maintaining becomes practically unachievable. The deal where one hammer select for a once per fight recovery between rounds could be representing Mac giving Doc some playful jabs and utilizing that previously mentioned strike spark stamina siphoning to get some glorious second wind action going on. Bald Bull's boxing glove only dance party probably serves as some sort of concentration ritual that allows him to build up sufficient power for a signature move performance. Speaking of which, the Bull Charge's instant KO opportunity is very likely the result of him focusing all that whirl-wrought witchery into his favorite finger fortress, leaving nothing else for every other body part, thus leading to a very fisticuffs acceptable torso. Doc's implementation of a darkness-enveloped runner-rushing rider training session may be designed to prepare Mac for fighting during a blackout. Folks Mac already defeated are able to rise up ahead of him in the more advanced circuits because their established reputations would have granted them a second chance before his first one. The shortened combos and slightly changed vulnerable points are of course strategies those defeated fighters develop to clobber that guy who beat them earlier. In other words, everybody has created counterattack countermeasures. Soda Popinski may have altered his whole brand from its arcade original version of Vodka Drunkinski because of agent-stemming warnings about children admiration-relating, parent-originating lawsuits. Inebriated Invader, still apparently getting sloshed from consuming mere carbonated soft drinks, could be because he enjoys experiencing the feeling and utilizing unpredictability for his fighting style so much that developing a way to replicate it via placebo effect action became training priority number one. Obviously, his team and him succeeded. The Bull Charge, still possessing its owner-ruining vulnerability chance despite all of Mr. Shiny Head Goliath's other attributes and skills getting pumped up to 11, is likely because Baldy's arrogance has made him believe that little Mac just got lucky. He simply can't accept that his most treasured technique isn't perfect. Don Flamenco's only rematch difference being a star power creating gut punch is probably just the result of him training for general strength increases instead of technique honing and that. Perhaps he's just not very creative. Hitting Sandman in the noggin 3 times and following with a stomach socking could possess particular potency because his head hurting oh so badly makes him lose concentration enough to disable dynamite defenses granted by fierceness produced ethereal energy. This is obviously a stage name. He was likely called Alexander Volman before getting into show business. Impressive manly guy's much life experience indicating physical appearance, despite supposedly being only 27 years old, is probably just him lying about his age, like how many real-life vain people do. There might be bribes and agents involved. Sir, not at all behind in the masculinity department's lack of head blow stopping mastery likely comes down to him being so self-absorbed that he doesn't believe anyone would ever strike his beautiful face. Thus, he never really trains at all for such a boxing match common event. His vibrating body super punch and glowing multi-hit combo could very well be extraordinary abilities he developed by a spectacular ego-amplified, impulse-rooted enchantment. There's a fair chance that SMM was in several movies Max saw as a child. If the techniques he utilized in those theoretical flicks were similar to his real-life fighting style, then even smaller iconic cheeseburger person may have based a certain sparkly-fueled uppercut on them. The missing daddy brought up in that post-championship newspaper could be an extremely depressed, formerly testosterone-filled beyond human limitation fellow drowning in his sorrows with a certain Russian colleague. The not at all Sandman associated special contenders, possession of everyone's strengths and apparently none of their weaknesses, just might be because he is a tulpa, an entity that is created through belief alone. This imagination-initiated individual invention instance would have, of course, arose from all the WVBA participants and fans wondering what each boxer would be like with their rival's best traits. Somehow, attributes of a person from another dimension, such as being ludicrously aggressive during an altercation's commencement, were included in this fantasizing-fueled fighter formation. Mr. Dream's kinda strong resemblance to Little Mac might have arisen from the crowd imagining what it'd be like if virtual boxing's rising star reached his maximum potential. The guy is said to come from Dreamland, which is Kirby's home. Perhaps he trained by chasing his mentor, who was riding a warp star in a more fantastic version of what Doc and Mac do. Captain Delusion, insisting that those he floors shouldn't make a comeback, could be because he's well aware of his origin and the possibility that others believing too strongly in somebody else could in fact render him completely powerless, or even non-existent. Endings are a pain, but all of you are fantastic. See ya.